Kunja Bihari.
Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jamuna Tera Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yamuna Tera Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivradacharya Sotastasta Srimad Bhagavatam Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.
Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Pancha Kalpatarivesya Kripa Sindhu Patitanang Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
So, dear devotees, we saw how Narad, Srila Narada rejected all kinds of literature in favor of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have Srimad Bhagavatam, then you don't need any other literature. Full stop. What a precise instruction. But if we don't follow that instruction, then it is very dangerous for us, for our spiritual life. If we partake in some other literature that Narad has not actually recommended, and we think that we are better than Narad, then we are making a big blunder. And this verse was very, very important verse, text 10, and we will now go to text 11. And this is where Prabhupada derived the strength, because Prabhupada was instructed by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to write in English. And English is not a mother tongue of Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada took that instruction to his heart and wrote Srimad Bhagavatam and allied literature in English. And this verse is the inspiration of that. Let's read it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudire
Tato Jayamudire
Nasta Prayesu Abhadreshu
Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashiki.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 11. Idvaga visargo janadaga viplavo yasmin pratislokam avadhavati api namani anantasya sankitani yat. Why you are not displaying the verse? Shrunvanti gayanti grunanti sadhava tadvaga visargo janataga viplava yasmin pratislokam avadhavati api namani anantasya sankitani yat Shrunvanti gayanti grunanti sadhava tat, that, bak, vocabulary, visargaha, creation, janata, the people in general, agha, sins, viplava, revolutionary, yasmin, in which prati slokam, each and every stanza, abadhavati, irregularly composed, api, in spite of, namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord, yasaha, glories, ankitani, depicted, yet, what, Shrunvanti, do hear, gayanti, do sing, grunanti, do accept, sadhava, the purified men who are honest. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. On the other hand, that literature which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literature, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. It is the qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that intelligent man should pick up nectar from the stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always observed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transaction. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militarist spirit. Can you imagine? So exactly this purport has been written in 1962. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India. They both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness. Every country over the surface of the world was God conscious. pure-hearted and simple. There is no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not suitable for habitation. Certainly, there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel of Kali, due to the age of quarrel Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to polluted atmosphere of the age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of name and fame of the Supreme Lord. So let us stop here and we'll continue because it's a big, big purport. So, dear devotees, this verse is profound. It says that we are all sinful, isn't it? Anybody who can say, I'm sinless, I'm pollution free, my heart is pure, we can't say. And there are some of us who are even grossly sinful. And the only thing that can create revolution within the impious heart of a living entity is the message of Krishna. It is the message of Krishna that can create a revolution in the impious hearts, nothing else. Others will aggravate our situation. Like if there is itching, right? And you start itching, it will aggravate. The only way, if you want to cure your itching, tolerate it. Otherwise, it is going to aggravate. Similarly, the heart is so sinful, it is looking an opportunity to engage in sinful act. The best way to deal with it, tolerate it, but it is very difficult. But if instead of tolerating it, but to tolerate what people do, they go away from the society, they go away from here and there, they hide somewhere else. Okay? Yesterday, I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is about Priyabrata. I don't know how many of you know this. In the first Manvantara, Swayambhuva Manvantara, Swayambhuva Manu had two sons. Elder one was Priyabrata, and the younger one is Uttanapada. Priyabrata, from the very childhood, entered into the ashram of Srila Narada and studied there. And Narada said, if you are my student, just follow me. No to anything material. And Priyabrata was happily with Naraji and never returned back home. Uttanpad was not like that. So he was entrusted with the kingdom of earth. And he became the king. And you know the story of his son Dhruva and Uttama and how Dhruva was castigated or humiliated, and then he went to the forest in Madhuban, Mathura, and there he performed severe austerities under the guidance of Naradji, and then what happened, rest is the history. Uttanpada would lament, and finally Uttanpada would entrust his kingdom to Dhruva and leave. So after some time, there was nobody qualified to rule the earthly planet. And Swayambhuva Manu went and saw his eldest son is still there. He's very healthy, very capable. and requested him to take care of the earthly planet. Priyavrata said, "Thank you, my dear father. You are very nice and kind, but I have no interest. I have no interest." So the Brahmaji, so Swayambhuva Manu went to Brahmaji. "My dear father, whom should I entrust the kingdom? I am Manu. I am supposed to take care of the earthly planet, but what is this? There is nobody who is getting ready, and my eldest son, he is flatly refusing." Brahmaji said, "Don't worry. Narada is my son, so he would listen." But Narada is telling one thing to Priyavrata, and Brahmaji is saying another. Narada is saying, "No, no, no. The goal is Krishna. Let be fixed in Krishna. That's it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." And Narada's teacher, Brahmaji, is saying, "No, no, no. I don't have anybody now. You are the only person to take care of the earth. Please go." Okay. And then Brahmaji gives argument, very profound argument. He says, just because you are a brahmachari doesn't mean that you are being cared by Krishna. You'll be cared by Krishna only if you are serving Krishna, if you are following the instructions of Krishna. It doesn't matter whether you are a grihastha or a brahmachari or a sannyasi or this or that. What is important, are you entrusted a job on behalf of Krishna? Because if Krishna has given you a job, then it is his responsibility to sustain you, maintain you. Right? By our fruitive, by our personal endeavor, materialistic endeavor, or whatever you can say, we cannot sustain ourselves in spiritual realm. Krishna has to nourish us 100%. 100%. Right? And with powerful argument, Brahmaji said, it is Krishna's desire that you take up the kingdom, kingly affair. And then Priyavrata would get married, because once you become king, you cannot become a king, because king means it's a grihastha life. It cannot be a brahmachari life. So he got married to Barismati, and there is very nice description of their romance, their conjugal life, how Barismati would always please uh, uh, Priyavrata with his twinkling eyebrows and so forth. But Priyavrata, although he was executing kingly affairs, he was literally internally completely detached from anything. Neither he was interested in the world, nor world attracted him, nor the power intoxicated him, nor the so-called following. Everybody was saying, "Priyavrat Maharaj ki jai, Priyavrat Maharaj ki jai, Priyavrat Maharaj ki jai." And he was not interested in all this nonsense. That is the power of teaching by Naradji. When Narada teaches, the teaching becomes so ingrained within our heart that we do not look at this world. Even if some responsibility is given as a responsibility, we discharge that, but we have no attachment. We don't crave for something to come to our disposal, to come to our rescue. What is our rescue? Who would rescue us? The holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, this verse is saying that doesn't matter Whether you are a good writer, bad writer, doesn't matter. Like now, every day I'm making you hear Srila Prabhupada's song, right? How many of you have tried to uh, Prabhupada bhajan, you have tried to mimic or repeat or exactly? I have tried and I left it. I just hear it. Because in Prabhupada bhajan, it's not song or tune, there is devotion. And we don't have that devotion. You can just simply hear it and relish it. You can't repeat it, parrot it, or mimic it. It's not possible. Okay. So the pure devotees, when they try to describe the glories of Krishna, even if in a mundane realm they may not appear as perfect, language wise, grammar wise, vocabulary wise, but pure devotees, their compositions are so pleasing to Krishna that Shrunvante Gayanti Shrunvante, Shrunvante Gayanti Grunanti Sadhava. Those who are Paramahansas, Sadhava means Sadhu, Paramahansa. Even if in a mundane measurement, a pure devotee glorifies Krishna in an imperfect way, but such glorifications are heard by sadhavas, by sadhus. Shrunvanti. Gayanti. The sadhus, after hearing such glorification, they repeat it. Grunanti. They accept in their life and change their life. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. Verse. So he's saying, Oh Vyasadev, you are perfect. Your language is perfect. Your description is perfect. But with all that perfection, you only described dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So that's why it's very unattractive to sadhus. Sadhus will not accept what you have done. What you have done, sadhus would not accept. You have done everything perfectly. There is no doubt about it. Your compositions are perfect. Your descriptions are perfect. Your arrangement and the way you have arranged the Vedas and everything is so perfect. But it is unattractive for sadhus, those who want shelter of Krishna. For them, it is not at all attractive because you have failed to directly glorify Krishna. Because it is the glorification of Krishna that creates revolution in the heart of impious people. And we are all impious. So what kind of welfare activity you have done, my dear Prabhu? This is what Narad is saying. This very heavy statement. And Prabhupada is telling in the purport, very wonderful thing. It says, those who are intelligent people, they know how to accept best from the worst. For example, Prabhupada is saying that nectar, if there is a nectar in the middle of the poison, an expert knows how to only extract the nectar and reject the poison. I have not thought what is the analogy could be, but if anyone can talk of a context where uh, for extracting nectar from the poison, I can say when we engage people in devotional service, they have so much of anarthas, but still we want to see what is that within them that can be engaged in Krishna's service. That is one thing I can see, how to extract nectar from the poison. And if you people can think something during this class, please put in the chat box. And then Prabhupada is saying that from a filthy place you can collect gold. From an obscure family you can accept a wife. And from untouchables, outskirt, if a person is a devotee, you can hear and take his shelter. Similarly, sadhus, they can extract the nectar of Krishna consciousness from a literature, even if it is not composed expertly. Very, very powerful. And then Prabhupada is saying that a saint is beyond such expert people, because a saint is constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Not only he is chanting, he is hearing. And he accepts, he sees that any other thing in this world is of no use to me. So his only shelter is holy name. Oh holy name, please protect me. Please engage me in your devotional service. Oh holy name, I'm your eternal servant. So such people, they do not look for perfect compositions. I'm now remembering how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had many disciples and many were very expert in melodious singing of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
When a Binayak Goyal came to our program, very innocent looking guy, I think first year or second year he came, and this was his tuning. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And there are disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that are expert in singing. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will always, whenever he is there in a kirtan time, he would make someone who doesn't know how to sing properly and make him leader. And that person will chant like me, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So something I can't tell how he would sing in a very, very... And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, holy name, please release. Holy name, you don't understand what is holy name. This is transcendental. Okay, you should be able to accept the holy name from the plane of transcendental, from the transcendental plane, and then dance and sing. So, a sadhu is attracted Krishna's name, not Krishna's, not the melody. Sadhu is attracted to Krishna's name, his fame, his glories. Sadhu is not, oh, how well he's playing harmonium, how well he's playing mridanga. We can use all those instruments to attract people, because people are normally so poor that they are so illiterate in terms of transcendental values. So we have to attract them through mridanga, through kartal, through jazz, and of course finally through books. But sadhus, they rejoice Krishna's qualities, Krishna's name, Krishna's fame, everything they rejoice. And Prabhupada finally was telling that India and China, they had never any war. Before 1962, India and China never fought. Never fought. You will not find any historical record India and China have a war. And Prabhupada is saying that. Why? And Prabhupada was very clear, because after independence, India was a very atheistic country. The leaders were very atheistic. The prime minister was atheistic. Everybody was atheistic. And hence, we destroyed a beautiful India that we inherited. Our school system became atheistic. It was given to the leftists, who were completely atheistic. Those who, people like Romila Thapar and, these people were entrusted our education system. And they destroyed our values. They mocked at our culture. Many of you don't know the history, what happened after 1947. It's a very painful thing. And Prabhupada was telling, this is the reason why the fight happened. When you get devoid of Krishna consciousness, such fight will occur. India as a country should have become highly Krishna conscious and should have guided the whole world in Krishna consciousness. Unfortunately, we missed the opportunity. We missed the opportunity. Okay, so let us, am I going very slow? 9:20. Okay, so maybe let me read again for that. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. Prabhupada has not gone to America when he's writing this. He's writing, as you saw, 1962 exactly, around that time. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much of quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental message for reviving the God consciousness of people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. Can you imagine this? In fact, I was telling, Prabhupada was instructed to write in a foreign language, English, and it must be. But let me tell you, Prabhupada, I have learned. I'm from Odisha. I didn't know how to speak even a proper word properly, English word. I have a very strong Odia accent. Eh? I learned everything about English by simply reading Prabhupada books. I get amazed by the vocabulary that Prabhupada has used to convey a transcendental message. Eh? There are so many. This simply the word transcendental, the word unadulterated. You know, the so many words Prabhupada has used is mind-boggling. I was thinking, Prabhupada, from where he got it? The only answer I could get it, Prabhupada was not writing. He was simply an instrument. And it was Krishna who was writing. And Prabhupada's writing is so simple, so easy to understand, and easy to digest. But we are sure that with all our fault in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration. The leaders of the society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is a fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors who may be foreigners. Yet, without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves. The neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. Let me tell you, in our time, uh, fire used to be a great source of calamity. I can tell you this much. In my time, I have seen one village called Deula, where my father was working in Gunpur district in Ramnaguda. From Ramnaguda, it will be around 3 kilometers. I've seen, except two houses, the entire village was gutted in fire. My own house in my village in Balashwar, it was also burnt and destroyed. And fire was a very big calamity. Nowadays, you don't see that more often, because earlier people used thatched houses and cooking. When you cook, even a little spark can catch fire, and it was many times people. So Prabhupada is giving that example of fire, because during fire, you don't have to understand the language of the person. What he's telling, everybody can understand that there is a fire in his house. It's very urgent. And everybody rushes. Doesn't matter whether you are an enemy or a friend. Nobody would like that you die of fire. Unless you are cruelest like Kamsa. Okay, even I don't think even Kamsa would do that. He even would attain to need of fire, extinguishing fire. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is technical science of spiritual values. Thus, we are concerned with the techniques, not with the language. If the techniques of the great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. Let me tell you, India's soft power is Hare Krishna Kirtan and the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. We must train everyone in the science of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We must make everyone an expert in kirtan. We must make everyone a perfect cook. I can tell you, India, in this three soft power, when everybody is incarnated in terms of this three power, expert kirtan, expert cook, and expert in knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, my dear friend, the world will be, there will be a fire of revolution. The whole world will be revived in Krishna consciousness. We only need these three. We don't need any new thing to come and attack us. We don't need anything else to save this world. So, the atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literature full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature. Yet, it is in the marketplace because people want it for sense gratification. But what we have not done, why these literatures, these dirty literatures have found ways in everybody's cupboard, everybody's study desk. The reason is we have not made enough attempt to take the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and put in everybody's desk. Hare Krishna. So, in the beginning, under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of corrupt mind of people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literature which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Srila Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We started a center in Ranchi, and we want this whole propaganda, these three things. I don't know whether Madhusudan Mukund is there. This is our only principle. Our principle is everybody must be trained in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Everybody must be trained in Hare Krishna Kirtan, and everybody must be trained in Prasadam distribution. That's all. If we understand these three pillars of Krishna consciousness, we'll be successful everywhere. I would also like Mataji, Sridevi Mahapatra like that, who are in the teaching profession, to take this message and spread. Everybody, whether it's Meghana Sharma, Binu Ghai.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Who is speaking?
Sridevi, sir.
Boliye.
You know, I'm a big copycat. Every day you tell a story, I go and tell the story to my students. Okay. And nowadays, I don't use at the end of my counseling or talking with my students online, the only word that comes out of my mouth is Hare Krishna. So yesterday I found, before I could say Hare Krishna, they started saying Hare Krishna.
Well, great.
That gave me so lot of happiness. So The reason that I keep hearing your morning lectures also is to see sir will tell one story, and that story I have to go and pass it on to my students. And one more funny thing I will tell you. Every day people will say this canto, that number, this chapter. So I only have one Bhagavad Gita with me. And like a funny person, I was going on searching the moment you keep telling. Today, Dr. Bharti told me, no, Bhagavatam is 12 books. Okay. And you were supposed to have those books, and from that books are quotes. I did not know. So then I told what to do. She said, fantastic, you told me, send me your address, and I'm sending all that 12 cantos to you.
Great.
She's gifting me those, all the 12 cantos.
Yeah, please keep it and read regularly. You people are intellectuals, you are all teaching profession. You will have more, you are really soft power. India doesn't need to be a military power. India needs to be a soft power.
And once
you see, Odisha, you are from Odisha, let me tell you, 30-40 years ago, Odisha was embodiment of Bhagavad culture. You've given it. If you would have preserved, Odisha would have been so famous. Extremely famous. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna. Please, everybody, write your question. I will get back to you in 2 minutes. Please write your questions in the chat box. We'll have some discussion before we wind up. So, there are some questions started with Meghana Mataji. Very true, sir. My experience in Krishna consciousness is very divine. It is like magic. I can see Krishna's presence many times in adverse situation. Harinam is real nectar. Many thanks to LG team for guiding in Krishna consciousness. Thank you, Meghna Mataji. And you are right, this team, LG. I am just, I do minimum thing actually. This team actually they are doing wonderful things. So they are praiseworthy. Nikita, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in his lectures and conversation, if a woman is trained up not to talk with any other man except her husband, that is her beauty. But in practical scenario, we have to talk with men in connection with the devotional service and professional life as well. So in this situation, how can we follow the statement of Srila Prabhupada as mentioned above? If you are dealing with people for a preaching, that is all right. As long as you remain always under the shelter of Guru, and particularly women also must remain under the shelter of a father if not married, if married under the shelter of husband, and if husband is not there as a widow, one should be under the shelter of a son. So there is certain etiquette has to be followed. But otherwise, as long as you are preaching, suppose you are a teacher somewhere, and you can talk to your peers. So there is no issue. Like Sridevi Mahapatra is a principal in a Navodaya Vidyalaya in Madhya Pradesh, and I'm 100% sure she has many male teachers there. And you cannot say, oh, she cannot talk to them. No. So principles should not be understood in a very fundamental, what is that called? Uh, Fundamentalist attitude. We are very liberal. Krishna consciousness, anybody who understands, he must be very liberal. While we are liberal in terms of our approach to Krishna consciousness, internally for ourselves, we are very strict in terms of following the values and tradition. Chiranjit Roy, what is their difference level of goodness, or all people in mode of goodness are in the same? No. Every mode has purer and purer form. So goodness, beginning level of goodness, and very pure level of goodness, and then pure goodness. There is a gradation. Because at certain level of goodness, you can be affected by passion. At some level of goodness, passion can never reach you. Meghna Mataji, how to learn verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, as there is time constraint always. From where to start, please guide. You just memorize all the quoted verses of Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita. That is the best. See how I learned the verses. My basis was Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, I memorized all the verses that was there in Bhagavad Gita. First 31 pages, introduction to Bhagavad Gita. And then, as I read Bhagavad Gita, I saw Prabhupada has quoted some verses. And some of them, most of them are from Srimad Bhagavatam. And then some of them are Katha Upanishad, Svetasvatara Upanishad. So I've just memorized all of them. I think that is the best way to memorize. Chiranjit Roy, how to stay Krishna conscious whole day? I find that I don't stay Krishna conscious whole day. If a woman is widow and don't have son, then whose shelter should... This Chiranjit Roy he is really a funny boy. Arey Chiranjit, first part is very nice, how to remain Krishna conscious whole day. Just imbibe the spirit of chanting Hare Krishna. And in here you are hearing classes in the morning, in the evening. I am seeing you regularly. You are, I think as far as the regularity and punctuality is concerned, you will be number one among all my audience. So thank you very much. Congratulations for such sincerity. And improve your chanting. And because you are a student, you must make sure that 8 hours are fully engaged, properly, effectively, efficiently, for your online classes, home assignment, all those things you must do. Because we have to learn from uh, Arjuna that uh, uh, that he, in the middle of the night, will practice archery. He'll hear this sound and he will target his source through the sound. I don't know how he was practicing, but in the night, in night nothing is visible, and he would practice. Some devotee was telling me, I forgot, there was sudden inspiration for Arjuna that he can also practice in the night. So, if Arjun could practice in the night, similarly, we should make, and you must know that Arjuna, although he was the greatest archer, he was also greatest dancer, he was the greatest musician. In fact, he was expert in many, many kalas. How was it possible? Because he was Krishna conscious. Once you are Krishna conscious, then you can learn many things, many things. It's something amazing what happens with Krishna consciousness. So don't worry, take baby steps. Those who learn how to take baby steps, they progress better than who try to take giant leaps in the beginning. They all have become flopped hero, not superhero, flopped hero. Those who start with baby step, at the end they take giant step and they become superhero. So kindly follow this footstep. Finally, I think I will take that. This is the last question. Akshay Kumar, Are Fir Piyush Aega last Puzliya. Only these two. Please don't ask any other question. Because it's 9:45. When there are more people in Kirtan, we release the holy name. However, when doing Kirtan in family with 45 people, I'm also doing Kirtan regularly but not able to release the holy name. What should I do so that I can release the holy name during Kirtan in family as well? I don't know why you can't release during the family. Wherever you do Kirtan, you should be able to release. Whether in your house or in the... Normally we release in the marketplaces, unknown places, because family is a familiar environment. So our dependence on the holy name is not much. Whereas when you go out, you are conscious that there may be demons attacking us, this and that. So we take exclusive shelter of Nrsimha there. And Lord Gauranga and Nityananda and chant the holy name. So that probably my best experience of chanting was in Bardwan, right? Bardwan, nah? That we, I think we were around 30, 35 devotees from Bits Pilani, and we landed off in some express, I have forgotten which express, in Bardwan. And from Bardwan we have to take another train to Krishnanagar or so forth. I didn't know this train travel. I had a student called Lakshmi Narsingha, and he was organizing everything as far as travel part is concerned. So in Bardhaman, we have to stay for 2 hours. It's almost like night 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And we have to wait there until 2 o'clock in the night, I think. At 2 o'clock, there will be a passenger who will take us to Krishna Nagar. And from there, we will take some autos. So that was some kind of plan. So that 2 hours, we did Kirtan. And that time, Bardhaman, because it's almost 9 o'clock, hardly anybody was also there in the station. Although Bardhaman is a very busy station. And suddenly, we realized not only we were doing Kirtan, all these railway reserve force police and railway staff, they have surrounded us. And it looks like hundreds. Not we are small. It looked like hundreds. And they are all dancing, jumping. And, I was just amazed. I even know the tune that tune is Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe, Radhe Radhe Govinda, Govinda Radhe. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I still remember even the tune that we were following. And everybody amazingly swaying their heads, leg, and it's like, the spiritual world has descended. That's what we felt. Yes, that is why you should go out and do kirtan outside. Okay, that's all I can tell you. But we have done so many kirtan in our house in 664. We have enjoyed a lot. Piyush Sehgal, yesterday you had mentioned that we should not act in fear. Could you please explain this in context of a brahmachari or grihastha living in an ISKCON community with defined services? Fear means fear of losing material thing. I didn't talk about fear related to spiritual thing. We must have fear for spiritual thing. We must have fear. Those are positive fear. Negative fear related to dhana, jana, sundari, kavita, jagadisa. This fear I talked about. I didn't mention the fear. Fearing Krishna's wrath, we must fear. We must fear. Recently, I am seeing that, whom I have cultivated very lovingly, they come, they abuse me, they do so many things to me. And they puncture my heart so much. These kind of fear people should have. How one can do like this. But anyway, I have to accept. Binu Mataji, I am constantly hearing that we should develop detachment from material thing slowly and steadily. This is going through chanting and hearing, but still I believe that I am more associated with this body. How can I practice this to dissociate with this body? Binu Mataji, please memorize Kunti Devi's prayer. Once you memorize Kunti Devi's prayer, then personally we can have a discussion. You memorize the prayers, also memorize the meaning. And I'm pretty sure you will have a very wonderful journey as you memorize this prayer of Queen Kunti Devi. This is there in the chapter, Canto 1, I think chapter 8. Yes, chapter 8. Chapter 8, prayers by Kunti. And this prayer starts from verse number verse number verse number 18 to 36. So 18, 19 verses. Mataji, please memorize. You'll enjoy it. And then let's have a dual discussion. Thank you very much, everybody. अरे बाबा, मैं बोला नहीं पूछने के लिए, फिर भी पूछ रहे हैं. Is going back to Godhead same as the liberation of becoming associate of Lord? This is same. No, no, no. Going back to Godhead means becoming eternal instrument of Krishna. That means always remaining in Krishna conscious platform. That is going back to Godhead. We allow everything to the Krishna's desire. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Vancha kalpatarvasya Krupa sindhubhya vacha patitanang pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Jai.